And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third installment or episode of Town Hall Chat. And today we have Lori Kennedy from Wow Weight Loss joining us. Hi, Lori.
Hello.
Oh, we don't have sound. Here she
Hello.
is. Hi,
Hello.
Lori. And
Hi.
so Lori on Twitter is at Lori Kennedy, RHN. We have Jen. We have
Hi.
Jen, the lovely Jennifer Perry from Main Street Creative. Jen, who we lovingly refer to as our left brain, is joining us from her trailer up north. So Jen's camping. We can all be jealous now.
That's right.
And her Twitter handle is @JenPerry. And I am Christella Morris, Main Street Creative Principal, and I am joining you from the comfort of my dining room. And my Twitter handle is @ChristellaSays, because what I say goes, I guess. Not really. Anyway, so today we're talking to Lori about having a small business online, how to effectively manage your business online, and any insight Lori has. We have a few questions from Twitter, from our awesome Twitter chat that happened just before this. And so we'll be going into those, but first we're going to give Lori a second to introduce herself, and everybody has a chance to get to know her. So Lori, take the wheel.
Perfect. Can you hear me? Let's make sure we have sound.
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
We have sound.
Okay, great. So I'm Lori Kennedy. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist, and I'm also the founder of Wow Weight Loss, and also on the B2B side, the Wellness Business Academy, which we'll be launching really soon, and the Wellness Business Summit. So I run two businesses at the same time, aside from being a mom, being a wife, doing all that other fun stuff. And my predominant way of growing both of my businesses is direct response marketing and email marketing. So I'm really excited to be here and to chat all about growing your biz online.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Lori. We're really excited about talking to you a little bit more about direct response marketing, because we think it's probably one of the most effective ways to get a new business off the ground without a huge budget. So that's primarily what we'll be talking about today, but we also want to chat with you a little bit about blogging and how you use blogging within your business, and also how you use some bloggers to work with, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about what Main Street is doing for you. So first of all, how was everybody's day? What did you do today?
Today was the first day of my vacation, and I worked all day, so that was fun.
So real life
sounds like a great
of a business owner.
Right? That's the freedom we were talking about before. No, I worked all day just because I had some deadlines, and I wanted to be able to shut her down tomorrow and the next day. So I spent the day at a coffee shop.
Awesome. That is a good freedom, is being able to work from a coffee shop whenever you want, because as comfy as my own home is, sometimes Starbucks is just a little bit better.
Yes.
Jen, what did you do today?
Well, like you said, we're up north at the trailer, so I also worked because I'm on vacation as well. No, just took the kids. We're on a native reserve, so took the kids to an art gallery, and because the weather wasn't so great, and yeah, really just sort of relaxed a bit. It was nice.
Sounds good. I got stung by a bee today, if anybody cares. It was great. I didn't see the bee. If I did, I would have killed it. But I didn't, so I didn't get my revenge. But no, I was walking with my kids and my mom to the park, and I apparently ran over a bee with my foot, and it sucked. But I think I'll survive, so that's good.
We hope.
So I guess we'll get started on our conversation. Okay, so Lori, our first question for you is, how has blogging helped your business specifically, and if you can use examples or what you like about blogging for your business. I know you do a lot of blog posts and you kind of reuse them in different ways, so maybe talk about that.
So I never really thought about myself as a writer, although when I was in grade 8, I did win the award at my grade 8 graduation for writing. So that really puts me into the sort of professional grade of writers. For me, my medium or my preferred method of communication is writing. It comes natural to me. It comes easy to me, more so than doing video or even engaging on social media. I find it to be a really good outlet. So I've committed to creating at least 2 blog posts a month. I've been blogging for years, although I don't quite consider myself a blogger per se. And I know that when we all hang out in our sort of blogging groups, I always feel like the odd lady out because I don't define myself as a blogger and I don't introduce myself as my blog name. So I've used the website, as I refer to it, it's a blog, as the platform to grow the business, but also to get people to really know who I am on a personal level, so that they essentially want to know more from me and how I can help them grow their business, and opt into my email list so that I can nurture that relationship a little bit more. So I use the blog as a vehicle, essentially, to communicate what I'm doing, to teach people, and then I repurpose that into all sorts of other things. So I can take the blog post and I chunk it down into social media, status updates, and also audio files, really.
That's an awesome point, Lori. I think that a lot of people, they sort of put blogs out there and then they think, okay, I'll just let that be, sort of build it and they shall come. And that's a really good point to talk to for a lot of people who are starting small businesses, is find other ways to reuse your content in ways that are going to be interesting and ways that work for that particular network or service or whatever. Right. So, you know, find ways to use concise, condensed versions of what's in the post, link back to the post so you can measure that traffic. But you know, when you can, use that content, because that content is what is really going to make you seem like the expert in your field. Yeah. And just as a kind of update to everybody, there is a Q&A app on the broadcast, so you can see kind of questions coming in, which is great. So we'll still use the Twitter questions, but if anybody still wants to ask a question, we'll see them a lot better during the live broadcast through the Q&A. So just a heads up. So that was great. Thank you so much for that. And do you ever use like professional bloggers or writers in your business to kind of help grow what you do, or have you done that in the past?
I have people who help me write certain things specifically for the WOW weight loss side of it, just because I'm sure everyone who's growing a business can appreciate growing 2 businesses at the same time. You know, things get lost in the shuffle. So I've hired other nutritionists to write recipes and blog posts for that side of it, but the Lori Kennedy RHN side, the B2B side, is all my own voice and my own content. The one thing that I have done, which has really saved me in terms of growing my reach on social media, is I hired a virtual assistant. So I went on to odesk.com and I hired a virtual assistant, and I had her create a spreadsheet for me where I gave her my URL to my website and I said catalog every single blog post that I've ever written for the last 3 years. And she has it all in a spreadsheet with the URLs, and then she wrote 2 sentences for each blog post and then scheduled it for me into all the different social media platforms. So my content is being promoted from now until December, and I don't have to remember to actually do it. So that was a huge time saver for me, and it's a great way to make sure that, you know, your content that you're spending so much time on, and your blogs that you love and you put so much passion into, other people actually get to read them, because often we'll write blogs and we'll promote it once on Facebook, and then what? Then where does it go? So you can definitely utilize that strategy.
Awesome, thank you. So we're going to take one of the questions we've got from the Q&A. and then we'll go into a Twitter question. Okay, so the first question that we got from the Q&A is from Denise Verme, and her question is, what's the first way a business owner should market their business online without having to spend mucho dinero? So can you give a few quick tips on how you've done that?
Sure. So the lifeblood of your business is your email list. So the one thing that you want to think about when you're marketing is how do you take the people following you on social media and get them onto your email list. So the best way to do that for free is to spend time creating really good content that the people that you want to work with can take action on right away. And I know it's a bit of a generalization to say create valuable content because that's what everyone says to do, but if you think of it in terms of writing a blog post that includes maybe 1 to 3 valuable points that the reader can take action on and implement into their life right then and there, then they're going to want to opt into your email list. And that's how you essentially grow a tribe of people who want to hear from you, who want to open your emails, because you're not just being generic, you're giving them actionable advice. So create a blog post that gives them actionable advice that they can take and implement right now, and then give them an offer to opt in to your email list, your newsletter, so that you can continue to nurture that relationship and grow it. More tips?
That's an awesome point. Thank you, Lori. No, yeah, that's good. That's really good.
I think there's a bit of a delay.
Email lists or just lists. Yes, we have a bit of a delay, so bear with us. I think that any email list or list that really kind of gives you an opportunity to get a quick glance at who is buying into what you're selling, in a sense, you know, whether it's a blog, whether it's a business, whether it's direct response marketing, whether it's a media agency. What you want to do is build a following of people who want your content, as opposed to people who might one day be interested in working with you or buying your stuff, because the conversion rate and the amount of work you're actually going to do with them is always going to be better. And the way to build that is to position yourself, like Laura said, as an expert. And when you do that, then people will always sort of buy what you're selling, in a sense. So hopefully that answered your question, Denise. If you have any more questions, please feel free to tweet them at us or send us an email, and we'll be happy to give you more answers. So, Jen, do you want to give us a Twitter question?
Yeah, we have a question that came in from the OK Mommy, and it is: what do you think the worst thing for online? What do you think is the worst thing for online businesses to do?
Awesome. Lori, do you want to take that?
Sure. So in one word, nothing. The worst thing to do is nothing, because that's what most people do. Is they talk a lot, and they plan, and they think, and they take courses, and then they talk more, and then they go on Twitter and engage, and they do nothing. So the worst thing you can do is nothing. So one step above that would be, I think, being caught in the perfectionist mode. And I wanted to comment before because, you know, the phrase, you know, assert yourself as an expert or position yourself as an expert, again, I think that's a buzz phrase that's being thrown around really generously. And, you know, a lot of people don't feel confident in the fact that they're an expert, especially if you're just starting a business. I mean, how can you expect to be an expert if you don't really have any practical experience? And that's totally okay. People will gravitate to you when you can get them tangible results, whatever it is in whatever field that you do. Just think about the advice that you would give to somebody, a friend perhaps that you're just having a regular conversation with, and turn that into a blog post. But going back to the worst thing that you can do is just get stuck in this perfectionist, I have to learn more, I need more credentials, I need more courses, I need to have a beautiful site, I need to have a beautiful logo. If what you're saying has the ability to help people, really and truly, none of that other stuff really matters, because because because, you know, logos don't get you results, right? Pretty graphics don't get you results. It's the stuff that's in your brain, and it's the passion that's in your heart, and it's your ability to communicate that. Even if you have a butt-ugly website, people won't care. I mean, we were chatting on Twitter before about Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, the guy swears like it's unbelievable. He goes to keynotes in jeans and a t-shirt. None of it matters because his content is ridiculous. And, you know, I guess he can do it because he's Gary Vaynerchuk, but he's always done it, even when he wasn't,
Gary.
Gary.
And I think we're both very inclined to sort of follow in the same thought patterns as sort of marketing thought leaders like Gary Vaynerchuk, and I think that that's because what they're saying makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do. I think the biggest mistake that you can make, for me, when I'm working with businesses, I always say, just follow through. If you don't do anything else, just follow through. Like if you make an idea of, hey, let's do a weekly hangout session, don't do 3 and then stop. Like, even if you don't get results, even if it takes months and months and months, just keep building it, because people will come if what you're doing is good and interesting or funny or makes them angry or makes them sad or whatever. If you're getting results out of people, like you said, it will work. So just follow through. If you have an idea, make it happen. Don't sit on it for 2 years and then be like, oh, my idea didn't work, because it's not going to work if you sit on it. You know.
Right.
And when it comes to social media, when it comes to email marketing, when it comes to, you know, growing your business, when it comes to shaking people's hands and going door to door, all you have to do is be consistent. If you're consistent with what you do, even if it's here and there, it will be better than if you're not consistent and you keep trying new things. Because if you keep trying new things and you're not measuring your results, how are you going to know what's working?
Right, and I think too, people get caught up in this sort of quick results where they'll do something 3 times and no one showed up and think, well, that didn't work, and so they feel deflated and they're demotivated. But that's the whole thing about, you know, following through and not doing nothing. Is you have to, you know, let your idea breathe and let it sort of marinate, and over time things will grow. And the other point I want to make about that is not getting distracted by all of the shiny things that are going on. I work with hundreds of natural health practitioners, and every time I have coaching calls with people, I always bring it back to, okay, did you get your, you know, goals done for the last 2 weeks? And they're like, yeah, but I want to talk about this today and this today. I'm like, we're not talking about that today. We're talking about your goals. So that comes back to following through and doing nothing. Pick one thing, one platform, one goal, and focus on that and nurture that and try and grow that.
Awesome. That is awesome advice. I couldn't have said it better myself. So let's move on to another question. We have a question from Dan Crouch, who operates a great blog, by the way. So he wants to know, how can I best utilize and enable my blog to be a tool that businesses can use and partner with me?
I would have to ask another question. So when you say partner with you, and I don't know, Dan, if you're watching, if you can quickly comment on Twitter, but what does that mean, like to be an affiliate with you, to promote?
Speaking from a blogging perspective, when you partner with businesses, it's usually to do sponsored campaigns, sponsored posts, you know, sponsoring you to go to events and do things like that, but just really encouraging businesses to utilize your services, whether they be writing blogs, running Twitter parties, you know, just using your blog as a way to harness your audience.
Got it. So it's obviously clear that I come from the world of information marketing and joint ventures and affiliates, because that was sort of where my brain went to, not sponsorships. Right. So I'm going to answer from my perspective of going back to having an email list, because if you can show potential sponsors and partners that not only you get X number of hits to the blog, or you have X number of RSS feeds, but you also have an email list of 10,000 subscribers, of which your open rate is between, you know, 17 and 28%. and they typically open emails for X, Y, and Z subjects, you can really command top dollar, because that puts you at such a higher advantage, because you can then show the ROI to the business, because you can track clicks, you can track purchases, you can track all of that stuff, which you can't do that if you're just posting a blog. Obviously, you can track all that stuff if you have like a sponsored space on your website. Hopefully people will then go and buy, but I'm not even sure that you can really track buyers that way unless there's a cookie on the checkout page that links back to the actual clickable ad that they clicked on in the first place. I don't know if people do that, but you can certainly do that with email marketing. So the best way that you can utilize your blog is to add an opt-in and grow your email list so that you can put together a media package and pitch yourself.
Yeah, and I think from a blogging perspective, if you want to be really hands-off in the beginning, like if managing an email list might be too difficult for you, which is totally understandable, there are widgets on most blogs that allow you to automatically email your new posts to your readers. So that's an opt-in that you should be directing traffic to a lot.
Yes.
If you want more like this, please opt in to accept my emails directly, blog post directly from email, whatever. And again, when it comes to utilizing and enabling your blog as a tool, you have to figure out what your end game is. If you want to get products to write review posts, then write review posts. Don't worry about getting the products for free. Learn how to write a really good, interesting review post, and people will start asking you to write products. And don't be afraid to pitch. Whether you have 200 readers or 200,000 readers does not really matter. At the end of the day, your ability to pitch a brand based on an idea that you have is what's going to sell them. Because if you're doing the PR person's work for them, because they don't want to sit down at their desk and go, how am I going to sell this stuff today? Like, really, they do that every day. If they have an email in their inbox first thing on Tuesday morning that says, I have an awesome idea, and it's only going to cost you $200, and I have this many readers, and this is an awesome idea, and here's how I can promote it, and here's what I'm going to do for you, they're going to be like, I'm going to lunch. It's an easy way for PR people to work with bloggers and use captivating content. So learn how to pitch, learn how to write interesting posts, learn how to write good reviews, and then figure out what you're trying to say. Don't let it be all about that sponsored stuff. The sponsored stuff will come if you have a good audience and if you're writing good quality content. Hopefully that answers your question, Dan.
Oh. And I think kind of along with that, you see the question that just came in on the Q&A, how do I start an email list?
So let's go to that one next. So I'm so sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Her name is I'm not even going to try. Ifio102. I believe she works with Lori, or she might be following Lori. And she wants to know, so she had two questions. We'll ask the first one, which is, how do I start an email list? So that's pretty easy. Lori, do you want to answer that?
So the best way to start an email list is to invest in one of the email marketing platforms. I know that MailChimp offers a free subscription. However, pardon?
Up to 2,000 people is free, which is
up to 2,000 people. However, it does not include the autoresponder feature, which means you manually have to send people download links to your free content, and it's a very manual process. So I would bite the bullet. It's really inexpensive. I think it's less than $20 a month for you to either subscribe to MailChimp or Aweber or GetResponse. There's a variety of Constant Contact. There's a variety of email marketing platforms out there, and if I had to start my business all over again, I would put up a very simple splash page or squeeze page and focus solely on my email list and really nothing else for probably 6 months. But that's the best way to start an email list, is just subscribe to one of those, watch a couple of the tutorials, go on YouTube and watch the tutorials if the ones from that platform don't serve you. And second to that, I would say take a calendar, take a blank piece of paper, and map out the next month. So think about the 3 or 4 most important topics that you feel you need to educate people on, and those become your first 3 to 4 autoresponders or automatic emails that people will get every couple of days when they opt into your email list, your newsletter, to get your free content, whatever it is. Because you don't want to have people opting in and then not writing to them consistently, following through. So before you even start, map out those first, let's say, 3 to 5 emails. You can send them out every week, and then you know there's not going to be crickets, in the person's inbox after they've opted in.
Couple addendums to that. I totally agree with everything Lori just said. My one thing is I usually encourage newbie, whether they be bloggers, businesses, whatever, to try out MailChimp first, only because their user experience is a lot easier to follow, and they have an amazing help system and tutorials when it comes to getting your email list started, and just the whole design of the site makes the whole thing a lot easier to kind of follow along on. So if you're not very technologically savvy, or you don't necessarily know how to get things started, for me, I love MailChimp because it is so easy to use and so easy to find help when you need it. And they have an amazing support team as well. But if you have any more questions about email marketing, you can direct them to either myself or Lori on Twitter, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. Yes. So, and as a kind of add-on to that, I know on the Twitter chat, Lori, we were talking about how much is too much when it comes to email marketing? Like how many emails a week or a month when it comes to A, having an audience of consumers, or B, having a captive audience of people who are interested in your content. Either way, I think there's a kind of soft spot for different businesses and different industries. And in your experience, how much is too much?
I think it really depends on your own goals. I think if you consider yourself to be an email marketer, then you need to email every day, because that's what you do. I subscribe to people where, I get their emails every day, and every day they're selling me something, but it's included in a really good piece of content, and I enjoy reading their emails. For example, I'm watching a launch that's going on right now, and I got 3 emails today from the same person because it's deadline day, and they were pushing really hard for sales, and I got 3 emails. So it really just depends on the goal and your own comfort level, and I will say that people are afraid to send too many emails for fear that their audience will think it's annoying or they're invading their inbox. If you have something of value and intention to say it. If that happens to be 3 times a week, then it's 3 times a week. If that happens to be once a week, it's once a week. The thing is, if you are looking to use email to grow your business versus just a source of delivering pure content, the numbers on which you email are going to be dramatically different, because email subscribers are conditioned to display certain actions based on your conditioning. So if you, as a business owner, want to use email marketing to grow your tribe, to grow your community, and to sell and market your products and services, then you need to email consistently. And in each email, there has to be calls to action where you're asking the readers to do something because they're conditioned to do it. Otherwise, when you go and pitch them something, they're going to be like, what? What is that? And they're going to turn on you. But if it's a norm from the beginning, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, people are used to it. And then if you're just using it, let's say in the case of a blogger, and you just want to let your tribe know that you've put, a new blog up, send an email every time you put a new blog up. If that's once a week, it's once a week. If it's every day, then send a little email every day, and maybe make it funny, put a little joke, put a happy face, do something. You're being of service, and I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, and there shouldn't be any guilt or shame associated with it. There is no right or wrong number to send emails. It really is so business and goal specific.
And I think that at the end of the day, you have to track your data. Just like anything else when it comes to email marketing, Google Analytics, whatever, your data will tell you what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong.
Right.
So our advice generally when it comes to our small business clients or our blog clients is to come up with a plan, just like you said, have goals, but start small and start with creating an expectation. So don't just say, I'm going to send 3 emails a week and then have to fill that with
exactly
sort of half-assed content. Start off small. Start off with, okay, I'm going to send 1 email every 3 weeks on the same day at the same time. I'm going to tell people I'm going to send it one day every 3 weeks at the same day at the same time, and they should expect it. And that email is going to have this content and this content and this content, and fulfill those needs. And then when you see those numbers climbing and climbing and climbing, then you can say, maybe I can introduce another email once every 2 weeks. And then keep growing it like that and build that expectation over time. Don't expect the immediate delivery and the immediate conversions and the immediate sales. As immediate as the internet and online marketing and social media is, the return on that investment of time is a lot longer process.
Yeah.
Those funnel starts way up here and it works all the way down here. So, where you may have made an impact on a tweet or on a Facebook post or in an email might not have a legitimate return until 6 months or 12 months or a year and a half down the road. But if you're consistent with it, then when that person gets that email in the inbox at the right time and they were expecting it, they will convert. And that conversion is what you're looking for. And the way to accomplish that is to be consistent over time and really know what you're talking about and not just give people a bunch of bullshit every time.
Right.
People can see through that.
And I just want to add, you can also have something, and I've seen this, for example, like Danielle Laporte, right? So I opted into her email to get what she calls truth bombs every day, and it's a graphic. But I could have done it weekly, or I could have done her like monthly, summary of whatever content she put out that month. So if you're concerned about how your audience is going to react, then give them the option, right?
That's awesome. That's a great way to do it. Have different lists operating and have that opt-in say, would you like to receive emails every day, every week, once a month, or
it's a bit of an advanced thing to do for sure. It's not necessarily someone for a beginner.
No.
But I think just what you said, be consistent and track it. And if it's a higher priced product or service that you're trying to convert on, it's going to take there's going to be a longer nurture sequence for you to convert on a higher priced product than it would if you were selling a $7 ebook.
And I think for me too, like even looking at it from a real retail perspective, and when I'm thinking about doing a campaign or I'm thinking about establishing a marketing effort, whether it's for a client or myself, I always put myself in that position of the consumer. How am I going to react to that? And for me, when I subscribe to, let's say, a retail store's email list, and I get them every single day, most of the time, if I like that retail store, although I don't open that email every single day, what I do is I just delete it, and I delete it, and I delete it, and I delete it, and I don't even open it. And then one day, I'm in the mood to shop, or I'm looking for a specific pair of boots, or I have something that is coming up, and I go, oh, awesome, and I look at it, and I make a sale. And it's that sort of, it's using the numbers to your own advantage. So if you say, I'm going to send one awesome quote email to my fans or readers or clients or consumers every single day for a year, that's a hard bill to kind of meet. But if you do that, then over that year, you'll see those numbers climb and climb and climb and climb and climb, because people who appreciate it will continue to appreciate it, whether or not they open it every day, whether or not they actually embrace the content that you're putting out there. If they opt in to receive it, they'll always, whether they delete it every day or they unsubscribe from the list, you're getting those numbers. And you can say, okay, maybe every day was too much.
Right.
Use those numbers to your advantage.
And I think, too, like, it depends on what the content is, or what the program or product is that you're trying to sell. Specifically, whether it's through your blog or social media or your email marketing. I heard this really great story, and I forget who told it to me or what video I saw it in, but it was an analogy of, this girl has a boyfriend, and so this other boy has the crush on the girl, and every day this boy went up to the girl and said, "Can I take you on a date?" She said, "I have a boyfriend." The next day he went up to her and said, "Can I take you on a date?" And she said, "I have a boyfriend." 3 months later, same thing. 6 months later, and then finally one day he went up to her and said, "Can I take you on a date?" And she turned around and said, "Sure, I broke up with my boyfriend." So you never know when the person receiving the emails is going to be ready to buy. It's your job as the value provider, as the business owner, to continue to educate them and to put your offer in front of their face so that when they are ready to buy, you're right there being like, "Can I take you on a date?" And you're top of mind. And you can only do that when your content creation is consistent and your promotional efforts are consistent. Otherwise, you fade into the background, and the guy second in line takes the girl out on a date, and you're, SOL.
Totally. One more question that we have for you, Lori, in regard to email marketing specifically is, what is an example to you, whether it's, in your work or just in general, what is a good example of email content? So what would you send as a piece of email content, and how would that parlay into a wider audience?
So from my metrics, but also being involved in, some of the most influential fitness marketers around, I know that emotionally driven emails work really well. The real life emails versus the straight up, here's the 5 tips, blah, blah, blah. But when you can be really transparent about an experience that you've had or something you saw or want to share, and then you ask for, feedback and like experiences, those are the best types of emails to send, because you're engaging people in real life. And obviously you want to relate your experience back to some piece of content or something about your business in some way that can help them. But those emotionally charged, motivational emails, regardless of what niche you're in, work really, really well, because you're connecting on a different level other than just straight up business, which is fine, but it's not really a way to connect.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with everything. In terms of, in addition to email marketing, let's say, what are the other things that you subscribe to in terms of marketing tools or campaigns, things that you do in your day-to-day, or things that you educate the people you're training at the Wellness Academy? What are your kind of like top tier tools that you use, and how do you use those?
I do a lot of webinars. I like them because I like to teach, and I don't have to necessarily be live on video, but I'm really good from an audio perspective. So for me, doing webinars is really fun because I get to interact live with a bunch of people. I get new subscribers to my email list, and I get to deliver really good, actionable, potentially life-changing content in a short amount of time that people can actually absorb it and take it in and utilize it. And I get to interact with them in a very similar situation like this, where they can see I'm a real person, I can see they're real people, not just, a subscriber on my list. And we're able to build that rapport on a deeper level. So I've used webinars with much success. And again, it can be something like this, where it's free, it's Google Hangout, you post the link to the Google Hangout on your Facebook page or your Twitter, and you ask people to show up. You can share your screen, you can create a couple slides. Mine always have spelling mistakes, and they're always ugly, because I'm the worst speller, but also because I'm usually going to talk more than people are going to pay attention to the slides. And I want to make sure that I get my points across versus making my spending a lot of time making my slides pretty. That's just my thing. I know for some people it's really important from an aesthetic branding perspective, but to me, again, it's more just about being consistent and putting the content out. So webinars have worked really well, and then a follow-up to the webinar and how you can repurpose that is you can get the webinar transcribed. There's transcription services that are super cheap that'll do it in 24 hours, and then always make sure that you edit, though, because there's loads of spelling mistakes and that stuff, too. But take the transcription, and you can either break it apart and use it as blog posts. You can turn it into a free report. You can take the audio part from the webinar alone and put that on something like SoundCloud so that you just have audio. You can put it on YouTube. Like, there's so many ways that you can repurpose a webinar. That's why I like doing it, because then it saves me time and I don't have to think about, what to write about or to create content about. Plus, last tip, it gives me another reason to email my list, because I'm promoting the webinar and then I can email out the replay. So it gives me a reason to email them 2 times in a really short window, giving them really good content. So I know webinars can be really scary for people. Just practice them. You get better at it. It's like the first time you give a seminar, it's probably going to suck, but you get better at it over time.
I think that's a great advice. And in terms of kind of marketing, I think you in particular do a really good job of using yourself as your brand in a lot of your content. So yes, there's Wow Weight Loss, yes, there's the Wellness Business Academy, and it's something that we strive to do. It's something that we encourage probably our clients more than anyone to do, is to really focus on being a real person, because we're also conditioned to everything that comes in, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook or in our email inboxes, where our brain first goes, is that spam? And then it goes, okay, no, it's a real person. I can read this. Because I think we're so used to it. We're so used to is that a prince in Nigeria trying to take my money, or is that a real person? And if it's a real person, we're like, okay, I can get behind that. And if we like that person and that person's interesting to us, or we connect with them in some way, we're always more inclined to connect with a real person as opposed to a business or a name or a product. Yeah. Those things are great and well and good, but when they have a real person selling them, whether it's Chuck E. Cheese or it's me or it's you or it's, dude down the street, that's why small businesses do so well in small communities, is because we get to know the people in those businesses, and we get to know what they're good at, what they like, who they're hanging out with, what they're doing, and incorporating that into your brand and creating a conversation around you as a person and what you like to do and how you like to do it and how that plays into your brand. Like for us with Main Street, we really embrace this small town hall. It's about being a community, and it's not a community in a physical sense, but it's about being a community online. And in our branding, that messaging continues because we're throwing back to those vintage concepts. We're using imagery that's about building a community or about giving something or about sharing. And so for us, when we capture that in a visual sense, or we capture it in a, sharing content sense, or we do these webinars, it's all about sharing. We share ideas. That's what we're doing. We're a community. We're a small town. We're on one Main Street. It doesn't matter if that Main Street spans the entire universe of the internet. That's what we're doing. And so with you have a really keen way of, when I land on your website the first time, I was like, who's this girl? She's a real person. And so it was fun. It didn't feel salesy or schemy. It was very much like, okay, this is Lori. I like Lori. Lori seems nice. What do I want to know about Lori? And then it was subscribe to my email list, or check out these programs, or here's what I do. And so how do you think people starting out with new businesses, people with blogs, how can they utilize themselves more in their brand? Is it a confidence thing? Is it, just taking that leap to do it? What can people do?
That's a really good question. And, it's funny because I'm probably one of the most transparent people. If you ask me a question, I'll tell you. And sometimes I can hear, my business coaches in the background being like, don't say that. Like, paint the picture, paint the lifestyle. And I'm like, no, man, I got puked on last night. Like, that's just the way it works, right? Like, I got up this morning and wrote an email. Like, that's just, I can't be any other way. I think people are really afraid to inject their personality, and I think it does come down to confidence. And I think that, we see all these guru-type people out there, sharing their life and on Instagram and on this, and then there's people just like us, everyday, regular people who are running businesses and think, well, why would anyone care to see my picture? Like, why do I matter to anyone? And it's that one time where you say something and someone sees it and it changes their day. That's why you matter, because we all have the ability to impact each other, especially with social media. And if you keep it inside and you don't share your thoughts and your feelings and your perspectives, you don't get to impact anybody, and that sucks. Yeah, and I think that, it's a weird feeling, and there are boundaries, definitely. And you obviously have to decide for yourself what those boundaries are, but the more you expose yourself, the more transparent you are, the more vulnerable you are, you're holding space for people to be vulnerable and transparent back. And that's how you grow. And there's, Tim Ferriss says, 1,000 raving fans. All you need to be really successful is 1,000 raving fans. And if you can hold space for those 1,000 people to feel like they know you intimately via your emails, your Facebook, your Instagram, and I mean intimately, blog, blog, website, whatever channel you want, you need 1,000 raving fans, and that's all you need, because they'll continue to consume your content, they'll continue to buy your products, and they'll love you as long as you continue to be you.
And one of them will probably be your mom. But you know what? And that's the thing. Start with your circle. Don't put your stuff out there and be like, oh, nobody likes me. I'm not going to share it on my Facebook because it's just my friends and family, and they're not going to. They don't care what I'm doing. Right. I always go to those people first, and I make it very, very clear what I'm trying to accomplish when it comes to that. I'm like, hey, I'm doing this. It's just this thing. It's going to take you 2 seconds. If you don't mind sharing it, there might be someone on your friends list who will love it, and how cool would it be to connect them with this?
Right.
And I might be a little more specific in the details and everything, but the idea is that I know someone who knows someone who knows someone who might really need to chat with me and just don't know me. And, now I have this amazing kind of group of friends where I'm getting tagged in all these random posts on Facebook, like, oh, my friend Christella can help you, or oh, my friend Jen can help you, or oh, you want to learn about that? Here, talk to her. And that's because I take an initiative to put myself out there and say, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. Did you know I could do this? And I might seem like the most annoying, self-absorbed person ever to some people, but those are the people who aren't really looking, because the people who are really looking just know that I have something that I want to do, and I'm not going to rest until I do it. And I think that's why people like us get along so well, because we kind of see that same kind of end goal, where it's sort of like, this is what we're doing, let's all pile into the van and go together. And it makes it fun, and it makes it enjoyable to be part of that kind of, that long-term vision. And I think people want to get on board with that kind of thing too. Like, one of the things that I love about celebrities and bands and things that I follow is that I've seen their careers grow. And I feel like, oh, I loved her in that movie way back when, and she was like an indie darling, and now she's this huge big star, and I love reading her Instagram and tweets and stuff, and she's such a normal person. Like Anna Kendrick, for instance. Like, what a cool chick, right? And the reason she's so enigmatic, the reason why people are so, like, attracted to her is because she's an average everyday person who is really funny, pretty good actress, picks good movies, but she's herself. She doesn't have to put on a fakeness about her, but she's okay with being herself. Mm-hmm. And being okay with being who you are and using that to your advantage in your brand will only ever succeed, because people aren't a-holes. at least most of them aren't a-holes, and they will like you for you.
Right.
And people who don't, whatever, right? We have 10 minutes left, so.
I just want to add one thing that you said. I think that I hear this all the time. I only have 10 people on my email list. I only have 30 subscribers. And I'm like, do you know that those only 10 people are real people reading your real live emails, and you have the ability to really change their life? Those only 10 people. If you put out a program for $100 and those only 10 people bought that program, right?
Or 6 of those 10 people.
That's a good chunk of change. Don't discount them. They're real people.
Yeah.
Everyone starts at zero. I remember hearing Jeff Walker, who wrote the Product Launch Formula, who's #1 bestseller, didn't do any media, $500 million in sales from all of his clients. He's like, I wasn't born out of the womb with an email list. Like, it didn't just happen. It takes time. And
that'd be awesome. That'll be the new trend. People will start building email lists for their children.
You bequeath the email list, but no joke. That's they say the money's in the list. Yes, but it's also in the relationship. It's the nurture. It's the connection that you have with the people, because I know people who have a list of 15,000 and they make barely no money because they never email, they don't provide good content, and they only pitch. And who wants to buy from someone like that?
Jab, 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 right hook.
Exactly.
Not to regurgitate other people's marketing wisdom or anything, but, when you got it, you got it.
Yeah, it's called modeling.
Models. Yeah, and I think in addition to what you said, that also really, 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 really applies to bloggers. Whether we're talking a lot about Blistum coming up, Blistum Canada. We're a sponsor at Blistum Canada. We're so excited to go. And it's funny because last year, Jen, who's my friend and my neighbor, was like, I have a blog, and we started talking about blogging, and I was like, you should come to Blistum. And she was like, oh, my blog only has like 2. My mom and my husband read it. That's it. And I was like, you're an awesome writer, and your blog will only be as successful as you want it to be and how much work you put into it. And I dragged her butt with me to Blistum, and now her frickin' blog is 20 times more popular than mine. And it's not because she found the golden ticket or she met 8,000 people there who started reading her blog. It was because she learned the tangible ways to connect with people and write interesting content, and she's really lucky to have an awesome friend like me who tells her what to write about. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's about starting somewhere. You have to start somewhere, and you have to take risks. And
you have to learn that and like you were saying, Laurie, it's not just so many followers or just so many. Like they mean something, and those people are what are your start, and you're just gonna go up from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. We have 7 minutes left, so
there is one more question that we didn't get to.
Let's get to that question then.
It's on the side there.
Yeah. So this was from our friend. I'm gonna call her Effie, okay? Because I can't pronounce her name, and I don't want to do her the disservice of not pronouncing it properly. So I'm gonna call her Effie, and she said, "I'm never sure to mention others or as an example of health practitioners when asked about my fees. Should that only be between myself and potential clients, or should I overtly share this information?" So should she be talking about other practitioners? Is there a worry of giving that business to someone else, or does that transparency actually help her?
I think that I get this question all the time from, obviously, my tribe, which are natural health practitioners. Should I have my fees on my website? All businesses, spas, massage therapists, it doesn't really matter if you have any small business. The question always is, should you have the fees on your website? Should you have full disclosure? The trend or best practices say no. Don't have your fees. Get the person to request more information. Get them to put up their hand and say, yes, I'm asking for your help. I'm asking for more information. And the reason being is because if you haven't done anything to provide value, to connect with that person, they're not going to understand the price attached to what you're offering. And if that price happens to be anywhere above $1, then they have the opportunity to say to you, well, that's too expensive. And all buying decisions are not rational. They're all emotional. People buy things that they cannot afford all the time because it makes them feel better about themselves. So unless you have a sales page where you've done the work, the hard work to write the copy that evokes that emotional response that gets them to feel the value of that $50 product or that $100 product or that, in my case, $1,000 product that I'm selling online, I wouldn't put your fees on display. If someone asks you how much you charge for your services, you can always deflect and say, well, what specifically are you interested in? Can I know a little bit more about how you found me and why you want my services? And that goes from like hair cutting to massage to like automotive places, right? People call all the time, I want a quote, I want a quote. Well, you know, ask them what's wrong with them first.
Then you have them on the phone and you have the opportunity to sell them on you.
You have the opportunity to sell them. And to just establish, you know, that baseline of a friendship, or at least a little bit of rapport before sharing your rates. And to be honest, if someone calls you and doesn't want to know anything about you and only wants to know the price, I wouldn't work with that person anyway, because they're just, you know, they're going to go with the cheapest. If they don't care about you, they don't want to know about your experiences or your results. They just want to know how much your program is. I would be wary of working with that person.
And get what you pay for at the end of the day. I think a lot of people have come to understand that good quality products are not cheap.
Right.
Whether services or getting your nails done. I just switched nail salons recently because I had the people who did my nails were fine. It was the experience that I had when I was there. I was not happy with the way that I was treated. I wasn't happy with the quality of the service that I was getting. So I'm willing to pay a little bit more to go to somewhere that I know that I'm going to have a nice time when I'm there. I'm going to have a nice conversation with the person who's doing my nails. I'm going to, you know, it's not about getting my nails done. It's the experience of going there and saying, hey, how's it going? How's it? Oh, your kids are doing good. Oh, that's awesome. Good to hear. And them making me feel like I matter as a client. I'm not just walking, coming through the door, getting my nails done, being shipped on out again, you know, and that they won't charge me tax if I pay cash. Okay, thanks. Like, whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I had a crappy experience with you.
Right. And that goes back to the just 10 people on your email list. You know, you're just another customer to them. You're not the potential of the inclusion of the 1,000 raving fans. And if you think about people as every single person having the potential to be a raving fan of yours, you will treat them with the utmost respect. You know, going back to the example you gave of the actress, like I've been following a band since I was 13 years old. Dave Matthews Band. And I first saw them in a...
Mine's so much lamer than that.
And I first saw them, you know, in a venue with 200 people. Like, this was, how old am I? Like 17 years ago. I will go to their concert every year. Like, I was 7 months pregnant, and I went to their concert. Like, you know, 1,000 raving fans. Like, I will pay $80 to sit in the rain, in the lawns, to be at the concert. Like, and I could feel that from him.
For sure.
I was at that same show, soaking wet.
I was probably at a Hanson show. I'm a nerd.
Yeah,
but that goes just back to, you know, really understanding who you're marketing to, who you want in your fan club. Like, you don't want everyone in your fan club. There's crazy people out there. You want
trolls.
Right. You want a certain type of person to be in your fan club. You want the person that you're going to be able to build the mutual respect with, that, you know, that values your input, that you value their input and want their feedback. And that makes for a really profitable and successful business. I mean, look at Apple. How many raving fans did that company build? And they don't even have, you know, the percentage of exactly, like, we can all raise our phones right now. Like,
raise your iPhones, children.
And I heard even somewhere too that they have like the smallest percentage of
They have the lowest marketing budget.
And all of these other things, but
they never give away free stuff except for
they don't do sales. They don't.
They used to do a lot of product placement, but I don't think they do as much anymore. But
it's just we got to know Steve Jobs. We got to know him on a personal level, right?
Yeah.
We know how the company.
That's really when their business turned around. Was when they made the brand personal. Not only did they make it about Steve Jobs, but they did what I always tell everybody to do, and they turned the mirror back onto the audience. What do you want? Here's what we know you want. You want a personal device that will serve you in this, and way. It's about you. It's not about the device. It's not about Apple. It's not about Steve Jobs. It's about you. And that marketing is what made a huge difference. It wasn't called the US Pod. It wasn't called the Apple Pod. It was called the iPod. And it was called the iPod because they knew that consumers wanted something that was built specifically for them.
Yeah. It's called WIIFM. What's in it for me? Right?
Good one. That's a good one to end on.
Yeah. What's in it for me? Always think about that when you're writing blogs, when you're email marketing, when you're promoting something. What's in it for the people that are going to be consuming the content? It's not about you.
And if it ain't in it for them, they're not going to read it. So don't even bother. So thank you, Lori. That was awesome advice. This one, last one, next one. You did a really great job. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. We had a really consistent audience today, which is awesome. And hopefully we just keep growing over time because that's what we're trying to do.
Consistent.
Yay! It is now 11:02. Thank you so much for tuning into Town Hall Chat. Next week we'll have another equally educated and awesome guest as Lori. Maybe not quite as equal. We'll see. But anyway, we'll keep you tuned in. The video will be live shortly. But thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Same time, same bat. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.